Brother and lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Nuno Tavares has said he doesn't want to leave Arsenal on a permanent or even on a loan deal. He wants to stay and fight for his position with the likes of Alexander Zinchenko and Kieran Tierney. We'll be talking about Fabrizio Romano's update on Alexander Zinchenko and Tielemans, confirming that Arsenal are waiting and waiting and waiting. They know there is a possibility to sign the player later this summer, and they will keep on waiting. Man United have turned their attention now to the player after Frankie de Jong saying he really doesn't want to leave Barcelona and he doesn't want to join them. But we'll be talking about Marcus Wendell Alves da Silva as well, another central midfielder that Arsenal linked with, playing at Zenit St. Petersburg. Now, there is a possibility that Arsenal get this one on a freeze, trying to convince Zenit Petersburg to terminate his contract because way down in Russia, things are not going very, very well with players. So maybe Arsenal trying to get a free deal instead of paying some money for Yuri Tielemans. We'll talk about that. And also Nicola Pepe, Leeds United, surprisingly interested. Leeds United, can they pay the salary of Nicola Pepe? Do they want to take him on a loan deal? And would he actually work down there at Ellen Road? Yeah, maybe. But hit the like button for me. Anyway, let's get this video to 800 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. And share with me your thoughts about Nicola Pepe to Leeds United. I mean, this is a fan base on this channel. The fan base loves Nicola Pepe a lot. So tell me, talk to me. Many of you want him to stay, but if he went to Leeds United, is it a deal that can actually work for him? Like, we can think about him and see, right? And anyway. So let's start off with Fabrizio Romano. He's been speaking around the two deals that Arsenal have been heavily linked with, of course, in the past 48 hours, and that is Yuri Tielemans and Alexander Zinchenko. And with Alexander Zinchenko, he said it is now very, very imminent. It is now very, very close. Arsenal expected to make that announcement very, very soon, that they have agreed everything with the player and also with Manchester City. The player is very keen on joining Arsenal. There is nothing blocking the move at the moment in terms of negotiations between Zinchenko, his representatives, and Arsenal. Personal terms, not a problem, already agreed, and we've been talking about assurances and reassurances, which are also now on the verge of being agreed. So this deal is on the verge of completion. Arsenal will move on to another priority, according to Fabrizio Romano. He doesn't point out the player, and he doesn't point out the position in the list update on where Arsenal are going, because he says Edu at the moment is working and enjoying to work in top secrecy. He's not leaking a lot of information at the moment. He's enjoying working in silence, so that many of the Arsenal deals do not actually get hijacked. Now, the Lisandro Martinez deal, of course, the Rafinha deal was always in the open because Barca had agreed personal terms earlier, so there was nothing to hide when it comes to Rafinha. But the Lisandro Martinez deal has really put Arsenal on high alert, that you better work in silence. You better get these deals done underground, rather than coming out shouting and then attracting attention. So the Rafinha deal, I don't think it is one we could have done in silence, however much we wanted to, because there were so many other clubs interested, and also I think Barca were always front runners for that one. But Zinchenko deal 100% agreed, totally done now. We are waiting for Arsenal to put him on medicals. According to Fabrizio Romano, there is nothing for Arsenal fans to be afraid of here. Now, on Yuri Tielemans, which is why I've been very, very keen on listening to the information he's been putting out recently. He has said Yuri Tielemans to Arsenal has never been off. Arsenal are waiting and waiting and waiting. Now, this one is two-way. Of course, we've spoken about the transfer ultimatum that Leicester City are trying to set up, trying to tell all clubs interested in their players that within the next 7 days, within the next 1 week, you need to have put concrete evidence on the table. They're going to be signing these players. Otherwise, we do not have a lot of time to think that you will be coming to make proposals and sign the players. But Fabrizio says Arsenal they have the feeling that they can wait until the summer ends and get this deal done. Other priorities and other players being linked with Arsenal, Lucas Paqueta, Serge Milinkovic-Savic, and the likes. Fabrizio Romano is not even giving them enough value, enough weight to talk about them. He says there is interest from Arsenal in a couple of other players, but even doesn't point out that these players are central midfielders. So for me, according to Romano, Arsenal's interest there in Yuri Tielemans is still very, very alive, but Arsenal are still waiting and waiting and waiting. The waiting game is on. I do not know whether this one will not actually come back to bite us. But anyway, with Zinchenko coming in, I think we have a little bit of cover in the central midfield as we debate our chances on Yuri Tielemans. But also on Yuri Tielemans, the Sun are saying Manchester United will now turn full focus on Yuri Tielemans now that Frankie de Jong is proving to be a more difficult deal than they expected. Now, I think if you have talked to any United fans, they would be very, very angry and very, very demotivated with the Frankie de Jong situation. It's very, very, I think, appalling. It's negative. It's bad. They had to first and foremost agree a deal with Barcelona, which was always going to be very, very difficult. Barcelona do have arrears demanded by Frankie de Jong. So Barcelona were trying to make sure that Man United pay for the arrears of the player, and then they also come up with the right amount of money that they need in that financial situation. So it took a lot of time to agree on a fee, and after agreeing on a fee, it looks like Frankie de Jong is not 100% convinced about Erik ten Hag and Man United. These are not my words. These are Fabrizio Romano's words. He's confirming that at the moment there is nothing changed with Frankie de Jong. He doesn't want to join Man United. He wants to stay at FC Barcelona. It was always his dream, and he doesn't want to part ways with the Catalonia club. So if Frankie de Jong decides to take a pay cut at Barcelona, that it means Man United will not be able to sign it, because the problem right now, yes, Xavi doesn't look like he's convinced about his playing style and what Barca want to do. That kind of single pivot and Frankie de Jong playing alongside Pedri doesn't really work very well. So, and that double pivot is not what Xavi is looking for. So, in my opinion, if he takes a pay cut at Barcelona, Barca could retain him, but they will definitely and eventually bench him, so that next campaign he will be leaving. But look, it doesn't work for Man United if the player is going to leave next summer. They'll try to bring in someone, and Yuri Tielemans is a player they're trying to hijack. It looks like Manchester United's boss, Erik ten Hag, has been a very huge fan of Yuri Tielemans since a long time before coming to the Premier League, and now they're looking at him as an alternative. And in my opinion, honestly, if they can get Sangare in, Eriksen is already in, Malacia and Lisandro Martinez are already in as well. If they can add the quality of Yuri Tielemans, a player who's played in the Premier League, a player who understands the landscape of the Premier League, no bad business in there. There is no bad business in there. But of course, this is an Arsenal channel. When I talk about Arsenal, Yuri Tielemans to Arsenal, we're waiting. We are absolutely waiting, according to Fabrizio Romano. Now, Tavares, before we get to Tavares, let's talk about, we are talking about the central midfield. So let's talk about another central midfielder in Wendell. Now, Arsenal are interested in Brazilian player Marcus Wendell Vale da Silva. That is the name. Brazilians always have this very huge queue, of a very long queue, right, of names. So it's called Marcus Wendell Vale da Silva, playing currently at FC Zenit in Russia. Now, the player is valued at around 19 million euros, according to the transfer market website. That is the guy. I just forgot to show you. So, the transfer market website value him at around 19 million euros. And his contract is running down in 2025. But what is interesting here is that Wendell is trying to convince Zenit St. Petersburg to cancel his contract. So, of course, we understand what is going on between football and Russia. I don't want to speak about it because it could get me in trouble. But so at the moment, Russian clubs will not be playing in the UEFA Champions League. They would not be competing on international level, including Russia as Russia as a footballing nation. So it looks like Marcus Window is trying to convince Zenit Petersburg that the conditions right now in this country are not favorable for me as a player. You would rather let me go. And I think, look, he's only 24 years of age. I wouldn't really rate him over any other midfielders that have actually been linked with, including Lucas Paqueta, Yuri Tielemans, Serge Milinkovic-Savic, Renato Sanchez, and the others, given the fact that the other players that we're linked with are mostly playing in and around the top 5 leagues in Europe. And that is huge. That is absolutely huge, because when you're ranking intensity, competition, and quality of these leagues, I think it is the Premier League up there, then the La Liga next, then the Italian Serie A, then the German Bundesliga, and probably the French League, and then the Championship. I mean, if I was to rank them myself, I would rank the Premier League first and then the Championship next, honestly. But listen, my point is that he doesn't get ahead. He doesn't go ahead of all the central midfielders that we're linked with. But he's a very exciting one. Brazilian, of course, he's got that technical touch, that talent, that superb talent. Always, they do have that quality. So when they're linked with Arsenal, it could be on a free, or I think Zenit could be tempted to let the player go at a very, very cheap price rather than lose him on a free. His contract still has 3 more years, so it will depend on Zenit and whether they are willing to lose the player either on a free or allow him to live on a very, very cheap fee. But linked with Arsenal, the links are not very strong, so do not be very scared. The Yuri Tielemans gang. I mean, I have a gang of Yuri Tielemans people on this channel, so do not be very, very scared. Now, we have 2 decisions to think about here. One is of Nuno Tavares, who has decided that he wants to stay at Arsenal Football Club and fight for his position against Alexander Zinchenko and Corinthiani. The player has an agreement apparently with Olympique Marseille, but he would rather stay at Arsenal and fight for game time. So talk to me in the comment section. Is this a wise decision for the 22-year-old Nuno Tavares? In my opinion, like I said right from last season, there is a player in there in Nuno Tavares. You can see he is interested, he is passionate, and is very, very enthusiastic. But the problem is that I think that kind of jump from Portugal to the Premier League kind of affected him, and I think his decision making is still very, very raw. I think he's he's still very, very I don't know how I should put it, but I think it needs a lot of panel beating, honestly. There is a talent in there. There is a good player. And thinking about Mikel Arteta as a manager that wants to play that inverted kind of role, you think Nuno Tavares stands a bigger chance if he were a little bit more solid and complete. But at the moment, a loan deal, in my opinion, would be the best part for him this time. But fighting with Alexander Zinchenko and Corinthiani could also not be a bad decision, given the fact that Corinthiani has fitness issues. So depending on what he wants. And then lastly, Leeds United are interested in Nicola Pepe. What do we think about this one, guys? This is a time when I want some debate. This is when I really want some debate, and I miss the live streams. But Leeds United wanting Nicola Pepe, it's a deal that I think they should stay away from. I don't think Pepe will do well at a very, very small club like Leeds United. No reason why, by the way. I just read it somewhere, honestly, that he won't do well. But listen, I think when you look at Leeds United and how they want to play, or they played under Marcelo Bielsa, I could feel that Nicola Pepe roam, Rafinha on one side and Nicola Pepe on the other. But when you think about Leeds United under Jesse Marsch now, and the kind of lack of tolerance he has for out of line players, the kind of order he's establishing at Leeds United, the kind of discipline, the kind of structure, I think Nicola Pepe will struggle with Leeds United as well. I think a move to Newcastle, a move to Sevilla would actually be better, in my opinion. I do not do any transfer dealing, so that's just my opinion. I hope you guys have better thoughts for where Nicola Pepe should go.